There's Golden Gottlieb talking about Les Moonves grabbing her head and pushing it down onto his, and they said the word, I'm not going to say it, but man's favorite appendage. I got to tell you, this is the degeneracy that runs our media. Les Moonves was the biggest man at CBS in history. And I got to tell you something. These are the bastards that have been knocking my president because he talked about grabbing women in a private conversation in a Winnebago at a meat judging contest called Beauty Pageants. And you women out there that want to talk about not wanting to be objectified, well, I got to tell you, you can't have it both ways. You don't see men prancing around naked in beauty contests outside of some guys that are in bodybuilding. And look, I'm not the biggest prude in the world, but this psychopathy, this schizophrenia, where you can make money as a female because of your looks, and even make it in the media because of your looks entirely. Ugly men get to do the news. But most of the women on the news are not ugly. They're the Megyn Kelly crowd, you know, they got to look like models. This hypocrisy is killing the country. But these media rats that want to tell us when or not it's right to be prudent, when it's acceptable to be politically correct or not. And every day they get exposed more and more for their duplicity, their absolute lack of integrity, and their pure evil. I've had friends make it in the movie business, and one of them said to me years ago, he was pretty big on TV for a while, that the only people that should become actors are the ones who are sentenced. And he called it Hollyweird when he lived there. And we've come a long way since the Dick Van Dyke Show and Mary Tyler Moore and Father Knows Best. These young kids, when I say young, I'm 62, so we're talking about anybody under 35. They have no idea what this country was about. They've seen debauchery and degeneracy their whole adult lives. They've listened to freaks tell them what the stories of the day are in lieu of true media people like, well, Huntley and Brinkley and Walter Cronkite and just about anybody we could point to that used to report the news. When they used to say things like, I'm Walter Cronkite, and that's the way it is, or this is the news. Now it's a bunch of nitwits telling us how to think and what we should believe. And the country's being torn apart by it because I'm pretty eloquent, if not verbose. I've never convinced a liberal to really cross over and see the world through my schedule of perception. All it does is create enmity. And I'm feeling my age, and so I don't want to engage these people and argue and make a point and sound eloquent or smart. I don't care to. It's a waste of energy. They believe what they want to believe, and I believe what I'm going to believe, and that's the end of it. But all this enmity on these TV shows that just, it's nonsense. It's become utter nonsense and futility. And the deep state exposed. You got the gimme, gimme, gimme crowd, and you got I'm tired of being bent over crowd. And when half the country has to load the wagon with all the people who don't want to pull the wagon, there's a problem. In New York, we have whole segments of society that don't pay taxes because of whatever their religion is. Imagine, no property tax, no school tax. And the politicians can't kiss their ass enough because they formed a bulwark with a lot of money. So one neighbor has to pay, the other guy gets a free ride. He doesn't pay income tax. He doesn't pay sales tax. He pays no tax. He pays no school tax, which in New York is prohibitive. In the town of Monroe, we have people living in high ranches paying $25,000 a year in taxes, $22,000 a year. It's insane. And there's a whole development of Hasidim. Tens of thousands pay no tax. So, what is this United States bullshit? Where's it united, and what states are united? What does New York have in common with Texas or Florida? Tom Golisano ran for governor. I've said this a million times. 10 some odd years ago, ran for governor. Was paying $13,800 a day. A day. That's $14,000 a day. Imagine paying $14,000 in taxes to the state of New York a day. So he banged it up and moved to Florida. You know what he pays a day now? Nothing. Zero. From $14,000 a day to zero. United States of America? Really? In New York, you have the right to get bent over a log, sodomized, and endlessly shook down for money. So the state apparatchiks like Andrew can name bridges after his family, count how many cars he collects, how many boats, how many mansions, how many wives, right? His father was big on affirmative action. You're a white guy, you need not apply. Now, Andrew talks that same crap, right? Talks about glass ceilings. I knew a guy used to drive his daughters to Harvard. An officer on the New York State Police used to drive his daughters to Harvard from New York State to Boston. That's not royalty, is it? Right? That's the governor of New York having his daughter chauffeured to college. While Andrew was making commercials about glass ceilings. I don't have any male friends that were chauffeured to college out of state because their daddy was governor. So affirmative action Mario, who denied white males jobs based on being white males without regard for their qualification, but he gets to be Governor Junior. See? Doesn't apply to them. Like Hillary Clinton. Doesn't apply to her. They love making rules. And then they disobey them. Like the Pope. Comes to America, along with the Cardinal of New York City, tells us we don't need borders. Because they don't care where their parishioners come from. They'll take them from hell. As long as they pay to sit in their area. We got the bridge controversy. The Mario Cuomo Chimpanzee Bridge. There it is. Wait till a bill comes in on that. Going to be billions. And don't worry, New Yorkers. It's only going to cost you about $20 to cross that bridge every day. Because that's what their number is. So he held it down to $5 because he don't want you to know before the election. Oh, and you have a surprise coming. But don't worry, he's going to make it fair, like every communist does. You'll all suffer equally because he's going to raise the tolls on the Bear Mountain Bridge, on the Newburgh Bridge. Okay, that's what he's going to do. So you're not going to cross the Hudson River under $15. One way. I tell people down south, they go, Chuck, well, how the hell do you live there? They can't believe it. Drive to Long Island, you got to take a second mortgage just to cross the waterways. It's up to like $38 in tolls to go to Long Island. Isn't that great? But don't worry, they make it easy pass. Hey, like Robert De Niro in The Godfather. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. No papare. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. And make it so, it'll bill your license plate. You won't even know it. We'll slip in at night. The sodomy will never be acknowledged. That's liberal, socialistic, criminal liberal government. The United States of America. Welcome to the vampire state of New York. F you, pay me.